Most people think strength is about control, controlling outcomes, people, emotions. But what if true power lies in surrender? What if peace isn't found in fixing the world, but in mastering your mind? The Stoics knew this centuries ago. Life will never obey you, but your thoughts can. Every storm, every loss, every failure is a test, an invitation to build something unbreakable inside you. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about feeling everything, yet staying steady in the center of chaos. You can't calm the wind, but you can set your sail. You can't stop the rain, but you can learn to stand in it. If you've ever felt tired of fighting battles that only exist in your head, this message is for you. Because once you master your mind, you don't just survive life, you transcend it. I remember the first time I realized how much weight I was carrying, though no one could see it. On the outside, I looked fine. I smiled when I was supposed to, nodded at the right moments, said, "I'm good like everyone else." But inside, there was noise, constant, suffocating noise. Thoughts looping like a film I couldn't pause. Memories replaying scenes I should have let fade. Conversations I should have ended differently. Futures I'd already ruined in my imagination. I wasn't living. I was drowning in moments that didn't exist anymore, or hadn't happened yet. Maybe you know that feeling. That quiet panic when the lights go out and there's nothing left to distract you. The mind becomes your enemy. Every doubt you've ever buried crawls out of the dark. You start bargaining with yourself. If I just get through this week, if I can fix that one thing, if they finally understand me, then maybe I'll feel okay. But it never comes, does it? The peace you keep postponing. The life you keep delaying until everything is finally under control. I used to believe that control was the answer. That if I planned well enough, worked hard enough, cared enough, I could keep chaos out of my life. But the more I tried to control the world, the more I lost control of myself. It's like gripping water. It slips through your fingers the tighter you hold. One day, I woke up exhausted. Not from working, not from living, but from thinking. From fighting battles that only existed in my head. I was bleeding over memories that had already healed, arguing with ghosts that weren't even there. That's when I understood something no one ever teaches you. The enemy isn't out there. It's inside. And it wears your face. For years, I chased peace the way some people chase success. I read every book, tried every habit, listened to every voice that promised clarity. But nothing lasted, because I was looking in the wrong direction. Peace isn't something you find, it's something you remember. It's what's left when you stop resisting reality. That's what the Stoics discovered 2,000 years ago. When the world falls apart, you don't need more control. You need mastery of mind. Marcus Aurelius ruled the largest empire on earth, buried his children, fought wars, faced betrayal, and still wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Epictetus was born a slave and crippled by his master, yet he said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." They both lived in worlds far harsher than ours, and yet, they found a kind of stillness we've forgotten. They didn't escape pain, they transcended it. Because while the world raged, their minds stayed calm. That's when it hit me. Maybe life isn't about avoiding pain but understanding it. Maybe anxiety, regret, fear aren't enemies but teachers. Maybe peace isn't something you earn once you've fixed everything, but something that emerges the moment you stop trying to. Think about it. Most of your worries never become reality. Most of your pain isn't happening now, it's memory or imagination. You suffer twice, first in life, then in thought. The Stoics called this pre-suffering, and it's what keeps billions of people from ever truly living. We bleed in advance. We drown in tomorrow before it even arrives. So I began to experiment. Every time anxiety hit, I asked myself, is this happening right now? Usually the answer was no. It was a ghost of a possibility, haunting the present moment. And every time I realized that, the fear lost a little power. Slowly, the noise started to quiet down. Not because life got easier, but because my mind stopped feeding the storm. We live in an age that worships control. Control of outcomes, people, appearance, perception. But here's the truth no one wants to face. The tighter you grip, the less peace you have. Life was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be navigated. You can't command the wind, but you can adjust your sails. You can't stop the rain, but you can choose whether to curse the sky or dance in the downpour. And if that sounds too simple, remember, simple doesn't mean easy. The hardest war you'll ever fight is the one between your thoughts and your awareness. Between who you think you should be and who you already are. Between the noise of the world and the quiet truth inside you. This is why I made this video, not to preach philosophy, but to remind you of something ancient and powerful. You are not at the mercy of your mind. You are its architect. Every thought you accept builds your inner world. Every one you reject tears it down. And right now, whether you realize it or not, you're constructing something, peace or chaos, discipline or despair. The choice is always yours. So let me take you on a journey. Not a motivational talk, not a self-help routine, but a reprogramming of how you see yourself and the world. 7 Stoic lessons that reshaped my mind and could reshape yours too. They're not just ancient ideas, they're survival codes for modern life. Principles that turned slaves into philosophers, emperors into monks, and ordinary people into masters of peace. If even a part of you is tired of being trapped in your own thoughts, stay. Don't skip ahead. Listen to the end. Because by the time we finish, you might see that the life you've been fighting for has been waiting quietly inside you all along. And if this message hits something deep within you, the tired part, the restless part, the part that craves silence more than success, then do one thing for me. Subscribe to this channel. Not for numbers, but for community. Every subscriber tells me this message still matters, that the pursuit of calm, strength, and discipline isn't lost in our noisy world. It gives me strength to keep creating, to keep sharing, to keep building this movement of modern Stoics, people like you, who refuse to live on autopilot anymore. Now before we move on, let me ask you something to think about. A question the Stoics would ask themselves every morning. If your peace depended on one thing, which would it be? A. The world becoming calmer. B. You becoming stronger. Comment below, A or B, and tell me why. There's no wrong answer, only reflection. Your response might just reveal how ready you are to master your mind. After that realization, I started to watch my mind the way a scientist watches a storm, curious, detached, and a little afraid of what I might find. I wanted to understand why I kept breaking my own peace. Every time something went wrong, I would spiral into control mode, rehearsing, predicting, fixing, overthinking. I thought mastery meant tightening my grip on life. But one morning, standing at the edge of a frozen lake near my home, I noticed something that changed me. The ice looked solid, strong, perfect. But beneath it, the water moved freely, untouched by the surface tension. That's when I understood, strength isn't rigidity. It's the ability to remain fluid beneath the weight of the world. That's what the Stoics meant by the dichotomy of control, the invisible line between what's yours and what never was. They weren't telling you to stop caring. They were telling you to stop bleeding for what you can't command. I began to see it everywhere. The way people curse at traffic lights as if fury could change the color. The way we rewrite conversations in our heads long after they've ended. The way we fight ghosts of what if and if only. We exhaust our lives trying to win battles that were never ours to fight. So I started an experiment. Each time something bothered me, I'd ask one question. Is this in my control? If it was, I acted. If it wasn't, I let it burn away. The first few days were chaos. My instincts wanted to fix everything. But slowly, the noise began to fade. I started noticing how light my mind felt when I released something I couldn't control, like dropping a stone I didn't know I was carrying. I realized that every unnecessary worry is a kind of self-inflicted wound, and we do it in the name of preparation, when in truth it's punishment. Then came the harder part, learning to love what happens. Not tolerate it, not pretend it's okay, but love it. Amor fati. It sounds poetic until life tests you. A close friend betrayed me once in a way that cut deep. I wanted to hate it, to erase it, to rewrite the moment. But I remembered what Epictetus said. When something happens, don't say, "I lost it." Say instead, "It was returned." So I tried to see it that way. What if this pain wasn't theft but tuition? What if every loss was a teacher wearing a cruel disguise? Over time, the sting became insight. I learned boundaries. I learned compassion without attachment. And eventually, I felt gratitude for the very thing that broke me. That's the hidden alchemy of Stoicism, the power to turn wounds into wisdom. Every time you say, "good," when something bad happens, you are rewriting the script of your own life. You stop being a victim of events and become a participant in your own becoming. But acceptance alone wasn't enough. The Stoics had another practice that felt almost brutal when I first tried it: memento mori. Remember death. It sounded morbid, but it wasn't about despair. It was a call to wake up. Each morning, I'd whisper to myself, "You could die today." Not as fear, but as focus. It made everything sharper. The sunrise felt like a miracle. A conversation with my mother felt sacred. Even washing dishes became a form of meditation. The awareness of death made me finally alive. One night, I wrote a letter I'd been postponing for years to someone I once loved but never truly forgave. I didn't send it. I didn't need to. The act itself was enough. Because when you remember how temporary everything is, grudges lose their purpose and love regains its urgency. That's when I started to understand the pattern in all Stoic lessons. They aren't rules. They're reminders. Every one of them leads you back to the same truth. Life will never bend to your will, but your will can bend with life. You can't calm the storm, but you can learn to stand in the rain without flinching. And the moment you stop demanding that reality be different, you find something extraordinary. The mind goes quiet. The need to win fades. What replaces it isn't weakness, it's power. The kind that doesn't shout or fight, but endures. The kind that isn't afraid to fall because it knows it can rise again. That's what Stoicism gave me. Not perfection, not control, but clarity. The understanding that every obstacle hides an invitation to act, to grow, to see. From that moment, I wasn't searching for peace anymore. I was practicing it. And in that practice, something inside me finally stopped running. There was a winter when everything I thought I understood about strength collapsed. My plans had failed, someone I trusted walked away without explanation, and I woke up every morning feeling like I was walking through fog, functioning, speaking, even smiling, but not really alive. I kept asking why. Why did this happen? Why now? Why me? But the more I asked, the more silent the universe became, as if mocking my questions with its indifference. That silence used to terrify me. Until one day, I realized it wasn't silence at all, it was an invitation. I began to understand that life wasn't punishing me. It was revealing me. Every hardship was stripping away another illusion I clung to. The illusion that I could plan my way out of pain. That people owed me understanding. That the world should make sense simply because I tried my best. I used to think strength meant never breaking. Now I know it means learning to rebuild with grace. That was the turning point, the moment when the question shifted from why me to what now. It's such a small change in language, but it changes everything. The first keeps you trapped in resistance, searching for meaning in misery. The second opens a door. What now? What can I learn? What can I do with what remains? That question saved me, because it turned pain into motion, The Stoics call this amor fati, love of fate. Not just acceptance, but love. To say yes to life not only when it gives, but when it takes. When I first heard the phrase, I thought it was impossible. How could anyone love the moments that break them? But I kept returning to that idea, like a song I didn't fully understand, but couldn't stop playing. Slowly, through experience, I began to see it differently. Loving your fate doesn't mean loving the pain itself. It means loving who it's shaping you into. It's trusting that there's a reason hidden inside the chaos, even if you can't see it yet. When my father died, I felt the kind of emptiness words can't reach. I wanted to undo time. I wanted to scream the universe into fairness. But one night, sitting in the dark, I remembered something Marcus Aurelius wrote. Loss is nothing but change, and change is nature's delight. I read it again and again until it stopped sounding cruel and started sounding true. Because loss isn't the end. It's the proof that something existed, that something mattered. The pain only lives where love once did. And that realization softened me. It didn't erase grief, but it transformed it into gratitude. That's what amor fati taught me. To meet every event, every loss, every wound with a whisper of good. Not because I enjoy suffering, but because I trust what suffering builds. I stopped trying to make sense of every tragedy and started asking what it could make of me. The difference between despair and transformation is often just one perspective, one decision to face what hurts with open eyes. There's a strange freedom that comes when you stop resisting what already is. The world doesn't suddenly get easier, but you do. The same waves that used to drown you now teach you how to swim. And one day, without even noticing, you find yourself standing in the same storm that once terrified you, only now it feels like home. Because you no longer fear what life brings. You've learned to love it. After learning to love what happens, I realized that philosophy means nothing without practice. Knowing the words isn't the same as living them. The Stoics didn't just write. They rehearsed life the way a soldier prepares for war. They called it premeditation of evils, but to me, it felt more like strengthening the heart. Every morning, before the sun rose, I began a quiet ritual. I would imagine losing something I loved. My home, my health, the people closest to me. It sounds cruel, doesn't it? To wake up and immediately face the possibility of loss. But something remarkable began to happen. The fear started to fade. I stopped being shocked by uncertainty. The worst thing that could happen had already lived inside my imagination, and I had survived it there. That's when I understood. Fear doesn't prepare you for pain. Awareness does. Seneca once wrote that, "Fortune falls heavily on those who are unprepared." I saw what he meant. Life doesn't warn you before it changes. One day the message comes, the diagnosis arrives, the job ends, the person leaves, and you either collapse or bend. Practicing loss doesn't make you heartless. It makes you flexible. It builds a kind of invisible armor around the soul, not to keep pain out, but to keep it from breaking you when it enters. But practice isn't only about loss. It's also about perspective. One night when everything felt too heavy, I walked to the hill behind my house. The sky was clear, the air cold. I lay on the ground and looked up until my problems dissolved into the distance between stars. For the first time in weeks, I felt small, and it was beautiful. That's when I understood the view from above. From that height, my pain didn't disappear, but it shrank to its true size. The same life that felt unbearable an hour before now seemed precious, fleeting, miraculous. When you zoom out, you start to see how temporary everything is. The anger, the disappointments, even the people you think you can't live without. It doesn't make you careless. It makes you careful, grateful. I started to treat every conversation as if it might be the last, every sunrise as if it might not return. Because someday, one of them will be. And then there was desire, the quiet trap I never saw coming. It wasn't the big things that enslaved me. It was the small cravings, the endless comparisons, the subtle need to always have a little more. Desire is like a whisper that never stops. You think it's ambition until you realize it's addiction to approval, to comfort, to the illusion that one more thing will finally make you whole. The Stoics taught the opposite, that freedom isn't about getting what you want. It's about wanting what you already have. So I started listing simple things each night before sleeping. The warmth of the blanket, the breath that kept me alive without effort, the roof that didn't leak during rain. It sounds small, but small gratitude builds a vast peace. The more I noticed, the more abundant life felt. The world hadn't changed. My eyes had. And through all of it, loss, perspective, gratitude, I began to build something inside me. Not walls, but a foundation. A place I could return to when everything else fell apart. A kind of fortress made not of stone, but of stillness. Every reflection was a brick. Every act of restraint, a door. Every moment of awareness, a window opening to the light. The Stoics called it the inner citadel. I call it home. That's where peace truly lives, not in what you own, not in what people think of you, but in that quiet space no storm can touch. The place you build when no one's watching, so when the world collapses, you don't. There came a morning when I realized the storms outside no longer frightened me. The noise, the chaos, the uncertainty, they still existed, but something in me had changed. I had built a place inside that was silent, unshakable, almost sacred. My mind no longer belonged to every passing emotion, every headline, every criticism. It was mine again. And that was the moment I understood what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." The world didn't calm down, I did. The same situations that once ruled my mood now felt smaller, like background noise in a distant room. Someone insulted me online. A deal fell through. A plan failed. But instead of collapsing, I simply observed it, as if watching a play I no longer needed to act in. The script was still dramatic, but I was no longer the actor. I was the audience. That distance changed everything. It wasn't detachment, it was clarity. I began to see that every external event is neutral until we give it meaning. Someone cuts you off in traffic, that's just motion and metal. You lose your job, that's just change. But your mind, left unchecked, turns these moments into monsters. It assigns emotion, creates stories, builds entire catastrophes from fragments of reality. The Stoics called this the discipline of assent, the power to decide which thoughts are allowed to enter. And I started treating my mind like a guarded gate. Not every visitor deserved entry. I built routines around this practice. In the mornings, before touching my phone, I'd sit in silence for a few minutes. I'd remind myself, today I control only my choices. That single sentence was enough to disarm the day's anxiety before it began. At night, I'd journal, not as a chore, but as a kind of cleansing. I'd ask, where did I act according to my values? Where did I let emotion rule? I didn't shame myself for mistakes. I studied them. Because mastery isn't about never falling. It's about noticing when you do and rising faster each time. But the greatest test of my inner citadel came unexpectedly. One afternoon, I got a call that changed everything. News that someone I loved had fallen gravely ill. For a moment, I felt the old panic rush back, the need to fix, to control, to resist reality. But then, something remarkable happened. I didn't collapse. I didn't rage. I simply breathed. I reminded myself, this is life asking something of you. Meet it with dignity. I drove to the hospital not in despair, but in quiet presence. And in that presence, I realized the gift Stoicism had given me. It hadn't made me cold. It had made me capable. That's what no one tells you about this philosophy. It isn't about suppressing feeling. It's about strengthening the vessel that holds those feelings. It's about being able to face the unbearable without breaking, to hold chaos without becoming it. The Stoics weren't trying to escape humanity. They were trying to perfect it, to feel everything fully, but be mastered by nothing. The truth is, life will never stop testing you. There will always be new storms, new losses, new moments that threaten to pull you apart. But the point isn't to avoid them. It's to build something inside that cannot be destroyed by them. That is the real freedom, not a life without difficulty, but a mind that remains unbroken through it. So if you're listening to this, wondering where to begin, start small. Wake up tomorrow and take one moment before the noise begins. Ask yourself, what can I control today? Then act on it. When something goes wrong, whisper "good" and look for the lesson. When the day ends, write down what you learned, not just from success, but from struggle. These simple rituals are the stones of your citadel. One by one, they build the strength that can't be given or taken, only earned. And when you begin to live this way, something extraordinary happens. The world doesn't shrink, but your fear of it does. You walk through chaos with calm in your step. You listen more, react less. You stop needing life to be perfect before you allow yourself to be at peace. Because now, peace isn't conditional, it's who you are. So if this message reaches something inside you, if it speaks to that part that's tired of chasing control, tired of being ruled by emotion, tired of living on the edge of anxiety, then join me. Subscribe to this channel, not just to support it, but to stand for something. A community of modern Stoics, building strength in silence, purpose in action, peace in chaos. Together, we can learn to master our minds and transform our lives, one disciplined thought at a time. Because the storms will keep coming, but now you'll have a place to stand. And no force in the universe can shake what you build within.